This is my third time towing with the new generation F-150, so I thought it's about right to do a full review. Now I've already driven an XLT in front of a fantastic Jayco Silverline, and this time I've got this 2100 Amaru off-roader from Wonderland RV. Now we're going to cover about 2,000 kilometers over a week through the Flinders Ranges. We're going to drive on a lot of dirt roads and a little bit of track work. Let's see how it goes. Under the bonnet of the Ford Australia supplied F-150s is the 3.5 litre twin-turbo petrol V6. Now that's mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission, so it'll always be in the right gear. And then that has a 2-speed transfer case off the back of it for low-range driving. Where we are in the Flinders Ranges has a lot of sharp rocks, so we chose to swap the factory tyres out to a set of Kumho Road Venture AT52s. Now these are still an all-terrain tyre, but they're a light truck construction with a wider tread block and squarer shoulders. So far they've been pretty good. We've bagged them down to around 25-30 psi and they're holding up. So on the gravel, I drive in tow mode in full auto when towing with the F-150, and it seems to be the right kind of fit. I've got the tyre pressures at the moment probably a bit higher than I should have, but we are on our last day, about to head home, so we've just reinflated them. I'm sitting in the 35s in the front and a little over 40 in the rear. Now placard, interestingly, for this car is 35 psi. Now I'm running a little higher just because of that ball weight from the big Caravan on the back. I just want to make sure that those rear tyres don't work too hard and overheat. On the tyres, I've mentioned that I've swapped out the OE tyres to a set of Kumhos to some all-terrains. I'm pretty glad I did because the Flinders Ranges, it's nasty on tyres, particularly when you're on the tracks up in the hills. The rocks are exceptionally sharp, and we did see one of the cars in our group blow 2 tyres yesterday, which has left me with one less spare on the Wonderland because it just happens to be the right fit for a D-MAX. So yeah, look, the OE tyres are great. They're very quiet on the bitumen and very soft and comfortable. But if you are looking to do a lot of off-road towing, I would recommend at least some all-terrains in a light truck tyre style, just something that's going to offer just a bit better stone protection in the sidewalls. We'll shoot a little bit on some bitumen shortly, but yeah, it's still a really quiet and comfortable place to be, even with these all-terrains on it. So on the bitumen towing with the F-150, it is like sitting in your granddad's lounge chair. It is so quiet and so comfortable. The seats are ventilated, which is one of my favorite features on modern cars. The steering is nicely weighted. The adaptive cruise control works fantastically. There's really not a lot to worry about. You jump in, you start up and you go. Now in terms of fuel consumption on the open road, it's obviously better than dirt. I've seen as good as 22 litres per 100 towing the big van, which I'm pretty impressed by. One of my favourite features is the memory seats. Now it's not just a case of it remembers who you are when you jump in, but the seat and the steering wheel retract out of the way before, or when you turn the car off, so before you get in there's just heaps more space. If you're a big unit, it makes getting in and out of the car a lot easier. Now there is storage and charging everywhere and anywhere you want it. Deep pockets in the doors, plenty of charging options for phones and bits and pieces. And in the back there is genuine room for 3 adults or 3 big kids. This is a proper big size touring rig, and it's honestly set up really well, or works really well I should say, as a touring rig and a towing rig in remote Australia. Alright, so we're about 2,000 Ks in on day 9 of towing the Wonderland with the Ford F-150. Fuel consumption on the freeway is around 22 to 24 litres per 100, which I think is exceptional for a proper big off-road van. And when we're in the tight twisty stuff doing some film work, around 26 per litres, which again I think is pretty reasonable. Now some people criticise Ford for only offering a V6, the EcoBoost 3.5 litre twin turbo, as opposed to the 5 litre V8 you can buy in America. Honestly, this is a better motor from what I can tell. There is a lot more torque lowdown and it is quiet and silky smooth, exactly what you want for a touring vehicle, and especially if you're towing a big rig like this. Now you do need to maintain a careful watch on your GVM and your axle loads because the F-150 doesn't have a substantial payload in itself, so do keep an eye on that. But for towing a 3.5 ton van like we've been doing for the last 9 days, I don't actually think there's a better car out there. Yes, the fuel consumption is a little higher than if it was a diesel, but for that refinement, that quietness, how smooth this vehicle is, it's fantastic. And with a full 138 litre fuel tank, you're still seeing 450, 500 Ks range, which is plenty.